Hopefully you've learned a lot from my graphic design videos about principles and rules, but how can we totally smash and break those rules as graphic designers? How can we do this without the final artwork being completely useless? Graphic design principles and rules are essential, yes, especially to beginner or intermediate designers. These rules are the foundation and a recipe for functional and effective design that actually resonates with the audience. But there are ways those rules can be broken once in a while, and today's video is all about exploring those situations. With the way the design industry is going, learning how to prototype is a no-brainer. Instead of putting flat files in front of your team, manager or client, imagine being able to hand them a prototype that's so good it feels like a real app or a website. Now learn more about Framer later in today's video. The first rule is to use harmonic colors, or colors that are relevant to the design. So think of things like greens used for organic products, or blue for financial designs, and so on. This rule most of the time is an absolute need. However, there are instances when you can break this rule. If your design is one where the message to the viewer is trying to cause a jarring response, this might be a good idea. A mix of contrasting colors that typically do not go well together will really grab the attention of the viewer, but this should be used with caution. Such a mix of colors will often create disharmony, but that might be something the message wants to evoke in your brief for the graphic design. Discordant colors can be seen in such work by Milton Glaser, who created designs for Bob Dylan. Always remember to understand the message before breaking any kind of rule. And speaking of which, the next rule is to abide by the grid systems. Now, grids have been a highly useful tool within printing since the 1950s, and designers have embraced them ever since. Grids do cause harmony with alignment, and they can lead a viewer's eye around the design. However, there are times when breaking these grid systems is really useful. If you want to really grab the attention of the viewer's eye to a specific spot on your design, offsetting certain design elements totally out of the grid system can work well. So maybe use some overlapping imagery or placing text out of kilter, and this could be a great way to create some contrast and emphasis. Like with every rule break, this takes some skill and it does take some experience. As you can see on this French poster, notice the bold lettering that totally overlaps the imagery in disregard of that vertical grid line. This double poster is very striking for multiple reasons, but the text alignment that breaks all kinds of alignment rules is one of the most striking. Again, always look at the message or the personality of a design. These posters are about murder and something quite shocking. The colours used do represent that with contrasting reds and blacks, but so does the use of breaking the grid system with the typography. It is just really jarring and unnerving to look at. One rule that you will hear a lot from some designers or people is that you should follow design trends. This is a very specific rule for specific situations, and if you're asking me personally, I never bring trends into logo designing. However, if I'm designing something that is maybe part of a brand recognition, so let's take for example a billboard or a banner, applying a design trend to that design exclusively could work well. But there are instances where we want to break the rule of trend following completely, and this is because as designers, we tend to grow a lot more creatively if we make our own work without those external influences. In the case of trends, it isn't a black or white situation. Sometimes they are useful and sometimes they're not. Another rule that applies specifically to logo designing is that you should always use colors that link back to that niche sector. So let's say you're designing something for a company that intends to be a new social media platform. After doing some research, you realize the majority of social media platforms either use blue or red in their branding. So take a look at Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, LinkedIn, these are all blues. And then you have Pinterest, YouTube, and Google Plus that are all red. So if the brief and the research determines that a social media platform needs to totally stand out for various different reasons, then maybe it would be wise to use a totally different color. Snapchat would be the prime example here, seeing as they have used yellow in their logo design. So those are some ways that you can break rules, and just remember, always consider the message and if the rule break will align with that message. Now you can have some fun with it, and especially with the grid systems, because you can have fun overlapping and disjointing or jarring text. But I still stand by the fact that beginner designers should always pretty much stick to the bare essential rules and principles, because they always lead to functional design. Now to announce the 3 winners of a recent logo design competition on this channel. I had tons and tons of entries, and this week it was particularly hard to choose 3 winners because there were so many decent logo designs. But the first winner is by Baha, because I feel this logo was very different from the other entries, with its abstract shape both depicting a W for Wilson and also the roof of a house. This did apply well to the real estate brief that I gave, and that's why it's one of today's 3 winners. Next we have a design by Silent Sea Media, and again this was a very clever marriage of 2 different concepts into one logo mark. I do like the choice of fonts as with the previous design, but here the layout is a bit off for me. The real estate here needs to be moved to the right a tiny bit, and I think on the top design I would have stretched it all of the way to the end of Wilson, but all in all it's a pretty good logo design. Lastly, a design by Tolly, and this design I feel was a very brandable and very clean logo. The colours chosen were great, and actually I like the colour schemes for all 3 logo designs, but the logo mark here is really smart, it's simple and it's really official. The typography is truly on point as well, and if we look at the original design and then compare it to the redesign, we can see how much better it is. It could easily represent a real estate brand with a professional touch. And so a great job to everybody who entered in today's competition, and next week there will be a new one for you guys to enter. The sponsor of today's video, Framer, is a no-code, free-to-use tool making it easy for anyone to become a prototyper. Now their mission is to help you get closer for real. Create your own smart components complete with multiple states without any code, as well as drop in pre-built components with the insert menu, and make your own delightful custom animations 100% visually. So in just a couple of hours, you could have a new skill that helps you stand out from the crowd. Sign up to Framer for free at framer.com/Satori Graphics, and that link is down in the description box below. But yeah, if you want to learn more about graphic design, do click a video on screen, and until next time, design your future today. Peace.